Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and as you know, I've been taking a look back, re-reviewing, commentating on all of my old Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network rants. Now, there's a bunch of other rants that I did that I could talk about. I did some individual episode rants, some full series rants, some miscellaneous rants, and I could talk about all of them, but I really don't want to wear out this concept. Maybe I'll save it for next year or whenever. So I think this will be the last one, and to complete the trifecta, I'll talk about my Disney rants. Yeah, I did some Disney Channel rants. You may not know this because up until recently they weren't in a playlist because, well, they were just 2 videos. Yeah, I'd always intended on doing more, but I never really got around to it. See, the main reason why I didn't talk so much about Disney Channel is because, well, I didn't have it as a young child. I had it at a certain age, and I've seen it as a young child in, like, hotels and stuff, but I don't know as much about Disney Channel's history as I do of Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. I could probably recite all of the original shows on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, but there's no way I could do that for Disney Channel. There's a lot of stuff that I just don't know. The other main reason why I haven't really talked much about Disney Channel is because it is just repetitive. Honestly, Disney Channel has a formula. It has, your 52-episode cartoon that's sometimes a spin-off of a Disney movie. Sometimes they have cartoons that just come and go and are very quiet, like the Buzz on Maggie or Fish Hooks. Sometimes you have breakout cartoons like Kim Possible or Phineas and Ferb, and those are great. And as far as their live-action shows, again, it is very formula. It's usually 2 guys and a girl who are best friends and have some kind of wacky situations that they're thrown into. That is the plot of a lot of Disney Channel sitcoms. And that's not to say that I don't love shows like That's So Raven or even Stevens, but to be honest, that kind of traditional sitcom thing, as I've spoken about before, is just kind of dead. If you want to do a sitcom today, you don't do a sitcom. You do more of a one-camera setup where you follow the cast around. You don't have the cast in like a living room setting, standing like they're in some sort of play at a 45-degree angle to each other. You don't do that. You do something like Scrubs or Arrested Development or Community or Parks and Rec. If you really want to have a great comedy, you don't just do your traditional sitcom, which is a lot of what I see on Disney Channel. Now, I've actually seen a few things very recently that really kind of interest me in reviewing some of the shows on the network, and so I think I probably will sometime soon. But again, as I've said before, doing these general network rants is kind of done for me, at least for right now. Well, that was a long intro. Let's get into the first of the 2 Disney rants. Wow. Well, let's see. I used the word ironic when I meant iconic. I don't know how I could confuse the 2. Also, I call the voice actor of the dog on American Dragon, I call him Joe DiMaggio. That's a baseball player from like a long time ago. His name is John DiMaggio. I don't know why I was so stupid. Also, I love the part where I'm like, John DiMaggio playing a talking dog? That's brilliant. Who wouldn't want that? Hey, I called it. That you could see it back then. I called Adventure Time. I think that was even back. Well, maybe that was when the pilot was out, but I hadn't seen it. Adventure Time. Yeah, that's no. But that was kind of funny. So basically, I talk about 2 things. I talk about why isn't Mickey Mouse on the channel, even though he's the logo, and then I talk about American Dragon Jake Long. I'll address the first issue. Honestly, I don't see this as a big deal as I did back then. And it wasn't so much necessarily that I really wanted to see Mickey Mouse on the channel. It was more of the fact that it felt like a real disrespect to just kind of have the silhouette of him be your logo. And they still have a variation of that as the logo today. Kind of having that without actually respecting the character, just throwing him on the kiddie shows. And House of Mouse was a really good show. It was a solid show. It was like the hub of all sorts of Disney Channel characters, mixed with some old Mickey cartoons, mixed with some new ones, mixed with the story of Mickey running this nightclub with these wacky characters. It was really good, and actually, I also complain about how they never aired any like of the old classic Mickey shorts. Actually, they've done that recently. I don't know if they still do it today, but at least like a year ago, possibly recently, they've been airing these little shorts, and they've been editing them down to make them even shorter, like in between episodes of regular shows. But even with editing, I would still say that it's nice to see that they are at least honoring their roots a little bit. But again, I don't see this today as so much of a problem as I did back then. I don't necessarily know how much Mickey Mouse classic shorts would appeal to today's generation. I don't know how much they'd even appeal to me. I've never really seen many of them, to be completely honest. I don't know. Like, I've seen a ton of the Warner Brothers shorts, but I don't know if Disney, maybe they're locked in the Disney vault and they can't get out. But I've seen a few on YouTube, but even still, you don't see as much widespread as you do of Looney Tunes, and Warner Brothers animations, and then Tom and Jerry from MGM and stuff. But yeah, so I don't necessarily see that as a big issue. I just kind of wish that they'd change the logo a little bit, and I kind of still do today, that Disney Channel has evolved beyond that. It is not about the Disney franchise so much anymore, because they not only do they not have Mickey, but they don't really do the spin-offs of animated movies, which is kind of probably for the better. But at the same time, I really like Lilo and Stitch the series. Maybe someday I'll actually talk about that thoroughly, why I like that series and why I felt that it kind of ended up being a little bit disappointing. But anyway, the second thing I talk about is American Dragon Jake Long. And that was a really good show. It was a decent show. It had a nice little mythology behind it. It had some good story arc type thing building up. Had some fun characters. It had, what's his name, Dante Bosco? I don't know exactly what his name is, but he's the guy who played Zuko in Avatar. He plays Jake in the series, which is really interesting. And like I said, you got John DiMaggio as a talking dog. You really can't go wrong with that. I'm telling you. But yeah, I complained about how the show was canceled too soon, and it was. I don't think it even got the full 52 episodes, or maybe it just got that. I remember the ending felt very rushed. Like they were trying to tell a more complex story, but Disney was just kind of like, no, you got to wrap it up in one episode. Like, we're not going to give you a TV movie. You're not as popular as Kim Possible. Forget you, man. And that's one of the problems with Disney that I've mentioned, but it's just, they are very, or at least they used to be, very rigid on how many episodes were allotted. Like, they, when they signed on a show, they would sign on a specific amount of episodes, and then that would be that. And again, unless you reach cult following, and Kim Possible was the first one to break this rule in any of their shows, really, or in any of their cartoons, unless you were super popular, you're slated for this. Even if you're mildly popular, this is what Disney Channel wanted from you, and that's that. It doesn't give the creators enough room to really breathe. It's more like a network mandate, like you have to make an animated series out of X, Y, and Z movies, and we don't really care if it's that good. We just want you to make 52 episodes, and then you can go and do whatever you want. It felt very much like network mandate instead of letting the creators actually create and have input on the series. Well, this is definitely one of my worst rants, ever. Don't get me wrong, I still make some good points about Hannah Montana that I will defend and back up today, but at the same time, there's a lot of weird things going on here. First, I pretty much beg the audience that if they like Hannah Montana not to watch this, which should really go without saying on any video that's going to be hating on a subject. I mean, if you wanted to watch this, if you wanted to watch it and then give me a comment on why Hannah Montana is actually good, then fine. But I knew right off the bat that people were going to comment being like, Hannah Montana is awesome, you're just X bad word. They weren't going to be like, Hannah Montana is awesome because it is a great analysis of the life of a teenage star and the pressures that she's on. I wasn't going to get that. And, while it is true, there's no reason to go on in length in the video about how people shouldn't comment. It's common sense at this point, and the trolls are going to troll regardless of whether I ask them to or not. So, yeah. And I've always been a fan of letting people express their opinion. So, honestly, if they wanted to just blindly say Hannah Montana is awesome and insult me, then whatever. A comment's just a comment. But anyway, aside from that, I repeat myself a lot in the video. I also kind of run out of things to say, and I'm just like I do this frustrated sound, and I'm just like, she's just, it's just so, I'm like all, ooh, yeah, that's not very good. I kind of restate. And then I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, I'll thank sweet Jesus and God. And I don't know why I'm bringing in that kind of weird religious thing into there, especially when I'm not a religious person in the least, and I don't really talk about that in my videos. But it's just very strange to see it there. And I try to like impersonate her. I'm like, sweet niblets, y'all. And I come off sounding like a massive tool, man. Oh, Tool Man. Tim the Tool Man Taylor. No. But yeah, so this rant is severely flawed. Also, I never did end up talking about the Jonas Brothers. They kind of came and went. I think the problem was they really left the main scene by the time I was ready to talk about them again, so there wasn't really much of a point. But alright, so my opinion on Hannah Montana, or Hannah Monterrible as I called her in the description, I kind of stand by it. She's not an awful singer. Like, she sounds a lot better than, let's just say, Kesha. Trust me, if they had her sing at the Kids' Choice Awards instead of Kesha, I would have been a lot happier of a camper. I mean, the main problem is that her songs were just really, really obnoxious and catchy, and all about living a double life. And Disney Channel promoted them and played them ad nauseum, to the point where, you know, you got sick of them. You got so sick of them. I mean, it's pretty much. And then the other thing, I guess I didn't mention in the video, but the other thing, I kind of did, is the fact that her fanboys were really, or fangirls were really rabid at the time. It's very much like the Justin Bieber thing now, or I guess the Justin Bieber thing like a year ago. I guess Bieber Fever's still on, just not as much. But yeah, Hannah Montana's really died. I don't think she uses, I still think Miley Cyrus is singing, but I don't think she uses that moniker anymore. For good reason, I mean, really. But yeah, so as far as her singing goes, she's not like an awful singer. She's very middle of the road, and her songs are intentionally made to be really obnoxiously catchy in the worst possible ways. You know. And then as far as her show goes, I mean, yeah, her acting is pretty bad. Like, I really can't tolerate her. And then the other thing is that the entire premise of the show is based on the fact that she is a privileged girl living two lives, getting to be rich, living in a beautiful house that's beachfront, having amazing supportive friends and family, and you know, why does she complain so much? Seriously, like, is it that big a deal if her secret got out? Really? I mean, no. And even if her secret, like, she should have taken better precautions not to let these stupid scenarios pile up in the first place. It just, again, it comes off as, you know, it's like a rich person whining about how no one respects them when all they're doing is just constantly throwing around their millions of dollars and, you know, having you know, jacuzzis filled with $100 bills. You know, like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you really care that much about living a normal life, then just stop being a rock star. Like, really, walk away from it. Why not? If that part of your life is too important to you, if you've gotten the privilege to experience both being super famous and also living an average life, and you care so much about your average life that you go through these great lengths to protect your secret identity, then, or your superhero identity, I guess, in this scenario, but then why not just become a normal person? You know, retire. What? Beats me, man. But yeah, so the entire premise of the show is really whiny, and the laugh track, I don't think I mentioned it in the rant, but the laugh track was just abominable. Like, I think it's the same one. They might even still use it on Disney Channel shows, but I know they use it on a lot of them. Like, it sounded like turkeys gobbling, like, and they would play it constantly, and it's like, oh, she said sweet niblets, that's so funny, her. Ugh, yeah. Look, if you like Hannah Montana, alright, whatever. I don't think it's that awful. It's just, specifically, there are these gripes that I have that I really cannot look past. I don't even hate her for the usual reasons that people hate her. Again, I think she's just a decent singer. I don't think that she's awful. I don't think that, you know, she's an awful person. I don't have any ill will towards Miley Cyrus or whatever. It's just, it's one of those things where the premise of the show is really irritating and her acting is irritating, and everything about the show was kind of designed specifically to target, I guess, little girls maybe, or anyone, I guess, with the fantasy complex of wanting to live this double life where you're also famous. You know, it's kind of very indulgent in that, but the entire premise is kind of set up in a way where it's just, it's very, I don't know. It's not aimed, it's not a very good premise, I guess. So, yes, that was my second and last Disney Channel rant. So, this is a little bit embarrassing. I actually did 3 Disney rants. And I know what you're thinking, how could you possibly overlook one of your videos? Well, guys, I have a lot of videos, and when I was making these playlists, I scrolled through the long list multiple times to make sure I didn't skip anything. And I genuinely believed I had 2 Disney rants. I knew that Disney rant thing was a very short thing, and I didn't expect there to be a 3rd one. And honestly, I have no memory of recording this whatsoever. But sure enough, someone alerted me after I uploaded this very video, minus this little addendum, that I had a 3rd Disney rant. I searched in the little bar, and sure enough, it came up. I should have just searched in the bar to begin with, but whatever. So my 3rd Disney rant is a lot of what I mentioned earlier about how Disney's sitcoms are very much formula over and over again. And I will have to say that that did change a little bit. I think maybe it was Wizards of Waverly Place, that broke it a little bit. In that, I mean, yes, it was kind of formula, but it also wasn't, in that it had a brother instead of a super best friends, and it also was a long-running show, and it got some TV movies and stuff. So Disney Channel, I think, has changed its policy a little bit. I'm not saying that their sitcoms now are that much quality, but I am saying that at least Disney isn't just by the books anymore, which is good. I also talk about how they kind of stopped doing the cartoon thing, save for Phineas and Ferb, and then the occasional extra show like Fish Hooks. I don't really know what's up with that. I think it's more that they want to turn Disney Channel into a live-action mostly network, and then they have Disney XD for their cartoons. Although Disney XD started showing a lot of live-action shows when it switched to Disney XD from Toon Disney, so I don't really know what the end game is, but it's nice to see that they're not at least spamming cartoons when really most of the Disney Channel cartoons after they stopped doing the the series thing were not very good. And it seemed to be that when Phineas and Ferb picked up, they realized that we're gonna kind of have this be our flagship animation and let everything else fall by the wayside, which I can't really say if that's a good thing or a bad thing so much. So as for my ranting skill in this video, it's decent. Again, I bring up some good points, but this video is definitely plagued with the saying words wrong and then correcting myself. You notice I do that when I misspeak. I repeat it and then I'm like, what? What am I talking about? Or I'll make a joke about it, and that's funny and all behind the scenes. But as far as the flow of the video, it completely breaks things up. So yeah, that's not a very good habit, I suppose. And yeah, it's got a lot of the and like pauses and stuff. Not my worst, but definitely far from my best. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Disney Channel rant trilogy. And that's about it. Pie Guy Rules, out. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe if you liked me, like this video if you, well, like this video, and comment if you have an opinion on anything that I just said. Oh, and I also have a Twitter. Follow me at Pie Guy Rules. I usually respond to any comments or questions that I get. Pie Guy Rules,